Every hard drive has to be formatted with a file system before you can actually save any data to it. In Windows, there are 3 common file formats we can use. We have FAT, File Allocation Table, NTFS, which is NT File System, and a piece of useless information. NT stands for New Technology. You see that term come up a lot of places in Microsoft, but it just stands for New Technology. And we have REFS, which is the Resilient File System. Now, the file system actually applies to the hard drive itself. So when you format the drive, the file system just kind of lays over the hard drive. Then when you save files to it, they are saved based on the characteristics of that file system. So the options you have, whether it's setting permissions or encryption or compression, all those types of things you can do with your data will depend on the file system on the hard drive itself. Now, what Microsoft has done, NTFS is the default when you install the operating system. So a statement we can just unequivocally make now: every Windows server will run NTFS. Every Windows 10 machine, every Windows 7 machine. Because when you install the operating system, it will no longer ask you what format you want on your drive. It just automatically chooses NTFS because it knows that's what you're actually going to want. The other options: FAT, FAT32, we'll just group those together. This is a very old format, and there is nothing good to say about it other than it is universal. So you could have a Linux machine, Mac, any of those could access a drive formatted with FAT. And well, Windows naturally goes in that list as well. So a universal file system. But it is considered very basic because it has no real benefits to it. There is no security, meaning if you format a drive with FAT, there is no way you can control who can access files and folders on it. Now, the newest version of this is called Extended FAT or exFAT. You will see this on your USB flash drives. Now, the way to think of FAT and why we would never use it for an actual hard drive in a server, if you have a flash drive and you save a Word document to it, you give me your flash drive. I plug it into my computer. Well, I can double click on the Word document and it opens and I have full control over that document. There's no way for you to say on the flash drive that this user has read access, this user has read and write, this user has full control. You can't do that. Now, for the sake of clarity, we do know that some flash drives have software embedded on the flash drive where you can encrypt the drive and put a password on the entire flash drive itself. That's not what we're talking about because that has nothing to do with the file system. That is just software on the flash drive. But as far as data on the drive itself goes, formatted with exFAT, you have no real control over it. Just whoever's in possession of the drive can do whatever they want with the data on the drive. And the reason we use this is because it assumes a flash drive is going to be portable. You're going to plug it in different computers with different users. You're going to plug it in Linux, Mac, Windows devices. So there's no real way to associate permissions directly with the data on that type of drive. But when it comes to a hard drive, this is always going to be the wrong answer to whatever it is you're trying to do. Just never. NTFS, as we said, is the default when you just install the operating system. Now, you're likely unaware of that. I mean, if you just install the OS, you don't see this as an option, so normally no one really ever thinks about it. But the benefits of NTFS, there are really 4 large benefits. Well, one is auditing. So let's say this drive here. Well, let's say it's just my C drive. On this drive, I create a folder on my C drive, and I just name it Sales. Well, what I can do for this folder is audit who accesses it. So if I want to know who has double-clicked this folder and opened it, auditing would simply write to my security log that Bob Ross opened this folder. He opened this file within the folder. So you can have a complete audit history of who read a file, who deleted a file, anything like that. So that's a big benefit. Now you selectively decide which files and folders you want to audit. So that's our discretion, just an option. For security, we can also set permissions. So I can say for this folder, one user has read access. So all they can do is double click a document in that folder, open it, but they can't make any changes to it. Another user could have the modify permission. And we will break these permissions down individually and look at exactly what they do. But with the modify permission, you could delete the entire folder if you wanted to. I can just have that associated with an Active Directory user account or an Active Directory group. They get assigned permissions for those folders. That is probably the largest, no, I won't even say probably. That is the largest benefit of NTFS, the ability to set permissions for files and folders. You can also choose to encrypt. I could go to any folder and just say, I want to encrypt this folder. Now, if I encrypted it, I am the user that can access it. If you had read access to this before and then I encrypted, you no longer have access to it. Only the user that encrypted it would have access, and your domain administrator would have access. They are considered to be a recovery agent. The only reason they're even relevant, if you encrypt this folder and then you quit, we may not be aware you encrypted this folder, and we have to have some type of way to recover it. So we'll have a recovery agent, which is the domain administrator, just for that purpose. And I can also compress. So if I have a folder here, like my sales folder, this may have gigabytes of data in it, and we have no plans to access that on a regular basis. If that's true, an option is to compress that so it just takes up less space. All those are just native to NTFS. The newest file system is the resilient file system, and it is quite a bit different. Now, it's backward compatible with NTFS, so it has permissions. It has this enhanced data verification and error correction, meaning it's basically self-healing. When you save data to it, it'll verify that the data is actually readable, and it can auto-correct many types of disk errors that FAT or NTFS are unable to do. And NTFS, since that's what we will primarily use, it is an incredibly stable platform. So even though this, says it has some enhancements in those areas, it's not that NTFS is really lacking in those areas. It's incredibly stable. This just has some additional capabilities. And support for incredibly large files, directories, and volume. So large, you can have a volume up to 18 exabytes in size. So this larger than any drive you could ever purchase. Now, the most interesting thing about this refs is for data drives only. So this could never be the format of your C drive where you have the operating system installed. Data drive only. So with this, you'll often have your C drive formatted with NTFS. Then in your server, you will have another drive. And that drive will often be this refs or resilient file system, and you only save data to it, does not run an operating system.